Rural life in the department of Sucre in the country of Colombia is very difficult as farm families try to support themselves through subsistence farming on lands whose ownership is in dispute. The poor rural, indigenous, and Afro-descendant farmers are expert at using whatever the land offers to service daily lives.
Aullamos y lo procesamos a que quede así. Ya este viene siendo una tutuma. Hacemos cucharas orgánicas de los frutos del campo. Y aquí también nosotros, aquí podemos hacer para llevar el agua. Porque este lo abrimos por aquí así, le sacamos todo lo de...
Take the local totumo fruit, a gourd-like plant which has multiple purposes. The hard shell of the totumo fruit was traditionally used by indigenous people to manufacture items like water containers, kitchenware, and musical instruments. Flowers are cultivated and planted throughout the region to encourage pollinating orchards and crops by bees. The small subsistence farms cultivate corn, yucca, plantain, yams, coca beans, bananas, and other fruits, raising chickens, breeding cattle, as well as the production of dairy commodities for local consumption is part of the small farm output. Small rural farms generate an average of 6.3% of the total Colombian GDP and 16% of the country's employment. Much of the land worked by subsistence farmers is owned by just a few people, which has been a long contentious situation in Colombia. One of the problems with farming the land in Colombia is that 60% of the subsistence farmers do not have titles to the land they work, which results in a fragile situation of continued disruption. Rural roads are poorly maintained, and often the only way to get around is by mule, bicycle, foot, or the ubiquitous motorcycle. Produce is transported from rural areas, often inaccessible by large trucks, to small dirt roads where it is moved to larger towns. In Colombia, rural farmers make up 32% of the population, and it is estimated that 45% of the mostly small and medium farmers live in poverty. During the rainy season, swollen rivers and streams often prohibit the passage of vehicles as there is little government infrastructure, such as bridge, culverts, and water diversions to help the local communities. This rural farmer has several acres which he farms to raise corn, yucca, coca beans, and a small crop of Bixa oriana, a tropical and subtropical perennial shrub cultivated for the orange-red pigment extracted from its tiny seeds and used in foods, drugs, and cosmetics.
Están investigando sobre este. Esto lo utilizan para los alimentos, para comer, para darle.
This farmer harvests and extracts the small seeds by hand, hoping to earn money for his efforts to contribute organic material for food and cloth coloring rather than synthetic products. Because of the lack of rainfall, the corn harvest and cocoa bean production is limited. Colombia has suffered a severe drought for several years in the lowlands near the coast, which in turn has reduced the yield of their crops.
Sí preparan este chocolate en barra. Aquí le agregan azúcar. Allá en Otra yuca ahorita que está saliendo ahorita, que es muy rápida, produce a los 6 meses, que llaman chirosa. La gente la está cultivando mucho porque a los 6 meses ya tiene yuca. Hay la otra yuca que era la nativa de aquí, que era sobre todo la santanera y la blancamona, ese era el año.
At 4:30 every morning, these farmers corral their cows to begin the milking process. After the raw milk is collected, the milk is transported in plastic containers to collection centers in nearby Sincelejo, where the farmers sell their product. This laborious method of hand milking their cows occurs every morning regardless of the weather, and has been the time-honored tradition over the centuries. Modernization of the process would be cost prohibitive to the farmer without the government or large dairy farmers assisting the small rural cattlemen. In the streets of nearby towns, produce obtained from local farmers are sold on the street by vendors, which help support the rural subsistence farmers who only hope for a better day.